How is everyone? My name is Moria Bowman, your STEM ambassador. We're broadcasting live from the Renaissance Marriott Hotel in Detroit, Michigan for the Women of Color Conference. Our main focus is to introduce kids to careers. But first, we'll recognize the founders. They include Dr. Tyrone Taborn, Vice Admiral Walt Davis, U.S. Navy retired, Brigadier General Velma Von Richardson, U.S. Army retired, and Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford, U.S. Army retired. But since this is a Women of Color conference, we'll be interviewing our guest speakers, Ms. Christine Burkette and Dr. Jennifer Blum. Please enjoy as me and my fellow STEM ambassadors listen to their amazing stories. Now, over to you, Joy.
Hi, I'm Joy. I attend Susquehanna Township High School and I'm a 12th grade senior. Today I will be conducting an interview from Ms. Christine Burkette and talking to her about the day-to-life of her career and some things about her. Ms. Christine Burkette, can you tell us what you do?
Sure. First, I want to say hello to everyone. I'm so glad to see everyone here in the audience and everyone watching at home. My name is Christine Burkette, and I'm the CEO of PICF, which is Promising Integrations Consulting Firm, and also own another company called Michigan Youth STEM Tech Aeronautic, which is a training for students from age K-12 up to age 26.
So, what does a day in the life look like with your career?
Well, to be honest with you, owning 3 IT tech startups is really not as glamorous as you guys are thinking at this moment. It does have its highlights, but it's really a lot of hard work. I start up every day around 2 a.m. I'm jumping on a treadmill when I'm talking to a team that's overseas in Dubai or Bangladesh. Then we transition into U.S. hours. At that point, between 3 a.m. and 5 to 6 a.m., I'm catching up on emails, responding to things, reading through documents, and preparing myself to meet with clients. Most of the day, though, I'm actually looking at trying to get clients. So there's a team that I have that searches through RFPs across 10 databases, and we look at opportunities in IT. And RFPs are what companies put out so that companies like myself can do contract work for them. Okay?
What does being a company owner, what has it taught you, owning a company?
Well, being a company owner has really taught me that it's a lot of hard work. It's more work that you put in to create the brand, design the brand. I think I put in at least 2 years prior to launching my first company just in designing and looking at the services I wanted to provide. So to be honest with you, I started out the company just being a K-12 education support service. And we branched off into IT because I saw that there was a need, but I had a background in it. And that was prior to us going into the pandemic. But to start a company, you really have to have a vision. And you have to have a conceptual idea of what you're looking at. The cost to start a business is exceptionally high. I went into my 401k, you're a little young, you don't know what that is yet. But I went into my 401k. I didn't at that time understand that I could go to banks and borrow money. But then you still have to have really good credit. And I think a lot of people don't understand your credit for your company initially is your credit score. So it takes a lot. It's a business plan, and then you have to identify a team of people you can work with and opportunities. So creating a business, you have to be willing to hear a lot of no's. It wasn't a lot of yeses in the beginning, and you have to be open to hearing people's ideas or perceptions about what you should or should not be doing. And you have to be ready to do your elevator pitch. If someone sees you in the elevator, you need to tell them what your business is, how you can help them, and how they can contact you.
So how did you create your vision? What is there meaning behind your vision?
So I created my vision because I grew up here in the city of Detroit. I graduated from Northwestern High School. I went to Harding Middle School and Dawson Elementary School. And I didn't see little girls like me in technology or anything. So when I thought about my company was actually in high school. And I went to Northwestern High School and I graduated from there, and I went to an HBCU and got my degree in chemistry and worked as a chemist for 15 years. And during that time, I kept saying there's got to be a better way to teach science because a lot of me was not teaching me. And so one of the things I did, and I'm really grateful because my dad was a teacher at Detroit Public Schools, he said, if you come back to Detroit, and at that time I was living in Delaware and I lived out there for 20 years, he said, I want you to be a science teacher because they need to see that people like you are out there. And I think the biggest impact on who I am and why I do what I do is because I became a science teacher at Redford High School before it was ripped down and now it's the Myers. We won't get into that. But I taught there, and then I also taught at several other Detroit Public Schools and charter schools, and then I became the CIO of Detroit Public Schools. And I realized in that moment that you have to have a vision or idea before you walk into that space. And I wanted to make sure that minorities understood that there was an opportunity in a space for you to excel in STEM and tech careers. And that's the reason why I did what I did. And that's the reason why I continue to grow my company and hire more of us and train more of us in that space.
That sounds so inspiring and amazing. Is there any advice you would give to girls like you who are interested in taking in science as a career?
One of the things that I will say to you is that you don't have to start out in a STEM or tech career in order to be in this space. A lot of people don't know this, but I have a minor in music. And what helped me understand the scope of what I wanted to be in life was the combination of the two. I'm not just a person who thinks about things analytically, and I do. I look at things like ones and zeros, how I can figure out and dissect it and fix it, right? And a lot of people look at things maybe a little bit differently than I do. So I'm gonna say to you, one of the things that inspired me is that I saw my mother start a business. And I kept saying to myself, if my mother could do it, then maybe I could do it. And it gave me the idea that this was an opportunity. But not only that, my dad was a school teacher and we owned property. And he had a business outside of a regular, 9-to-5 job. So I want to say to you young ladies, to be in this space, there's opportunities across STEM and tech. You don't all have to be chemists. You don't all have to be astrophysicists or data analytics or coders. There's so much room for us to be creative, and graphic designers is one of those areas that if you are an artistic person, I have a staff of graphic designers that design nothing but logos. And what is that? That's art in 3 dimensions. So again, you can be creative. I have a guy that does music, digital music for me, because in this world, when you're creating things, we have to pay Jay-Z if you use Jay-Z music. But if I had something similar to a Jay-Z, then I could play it on all of my videos. So what I do is I hire people to create tracks for me. And those are like DJs. And that's what I'm saying. So even in the tech world, you guys don't understand. And another thing I want to say to you, across the industry in movies, and a lot of you guys don't know this, they're using a lot of tech in movies now. But guess how they're using it? In animation. So you guys who like to do gaming and sports and stuff like that, esports is big, but the animation in esports, the graphic designers in esports are the same ones that they use to make the movies that you watch. So if you guys are watching She-Hulk on Disney, by the way, I watched that. The graphics in that is amazing, how Jennifer goes from a regular sized person like you to She-Hulk in a matter of seconds. That's graphic design. And so you have to have a person understand it, but guess what? They also have people that they film on a green screen who may be a dancer, and they take the movement of the dancer to get the flow of a butterfly. So again, you don't have to be into the back end, you could be on the front end of tech and use your skills and expertise in that. So I just want to put that out there so everyone doesn't think you have to have multiple degrees like myself and Dr. Blum to be in this space. You don't have to. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. So is there any adversity that you ever had to go through to get to where you are today, and how did you get through it?
So the adversity out here is bigger than what you think. You would think that a person in my situation who has multiple degrees and all of them are in science or in technology, that doors would open for me. It doesn't work that way. Being a female in tech is harder than it is being in any other career. The first thing people do when I go to tech conferences outside of this one, they think I'm the person on stage fixing the mic. So I'm going to tell you guys a quick story, and this will kind of answer your question and give you just some insight. There's a company here that we're looking for people to provide tech consulting work for them. I applied for that through an RFP, and it was Chris Burkette that I applied for. So Chris Burkette got there early because back in that time, you would have to set up a projector and present to them. So I did. I came, I set up my projector, I got there early, and I'm sitting in the back of the room by a council. A council is just a table. And so everyone starts to feel and come into the room, and the gentleman walks in and he doesn't see a Chris Burkette through his perspective. He goes back out and he tells his receptionist, "Where's Chris Burkette? She's late." And at this point, I'm sitting there. He approaches me and hands me his credit card and says, "Listen, we're hungry. Can you get us some coffee before the meeting starts? Can you run downstairs to the Starbucks?" I said, "Sure. Do you mind if I get me one?" He handed me his credit card. I went around and took everyone's order. I went down and brought the carriers back up, and I started handing out all the coffees. As I'm walking past receptionist, she says, "Oh, they said Chris Burkette is here. She's been here since, the time, like an hour before." And he says, "There is no Chris Burkette." He walks in, he says, "Has anyone seen Chris Burkette?" I said, "Hi, I'm Chris Burkette. How are you?" See your facial expression? It was a room full of people who were not minorities, and I was the only minority, and I was Chris Burkette. That taught them a lesson that Chris Burkette could have been anyone. Now, did I get the contract? Of course I did. Did I get it because I was a minority? I don't know, but my presentation was amazing. And they're still clients with me today.
What made you decide to go get the coffee? Because me, I would have been like, no, I'm not getting the coffee. Do you know who I am? But what made you decide to go get the coffee? Why did you do it?
So one of the things I want you guys to understand, your skin is something that you can never change. And it's not going to make a difference who looks at you. The first thing they do is they make assumptions on your capabilities and your abilities based on your color. But one thing you can't change is how people perceive you once you respond. Your response to that situation is going to dictate how you grow within a space, not for other people, but within yourself. And one of the things I said to me, this can either be a moment that's going to open up several doors for me, it's going to be a moment that's going to close doors. I could have said, "I'm sorry, I'm Chris Burkette, I'm not going to get anything for you," but I got a better kick out of seeing a room full of non-minorities sit there and just their mouths were open and all they could say was, "We're so sorry. It's no need to apologize. Now that we've gotten this out of the way, I'm the black lady who's here to present to you." They all laughed and they got a kick out of it. But the thing is, that was my icebreaker. You know what I mean? And so ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand this. You don't ever have to solidify who you are in the color of your skin. Just be the best person you can be, and people will see you as transparent. Now when people see Chris Burkette walking around, I'm transparent. Well, unless I'm wearing like this jacket I'm wearing today. The jacket just really gets more volume than I do, right? Okay.
No, you need volume too. So, how do you envision your company going forward in the future? Is there any goals you have and anything you want to blow up and everything?
So one of the things that I will tell you is that I'm not the face of my company, and I kind of like that. One of the things that I focus on is that every year I want to hire 100 new employees. And when I don't hit that targeted goal, it really bothers me. Because prospectively, if I hire 100 new people every year, that's 100 new people I'm offering financial family stability to. If families don't have really good incomes, then what's going to happen to our infrastructure, to our economy? It's going to fail. And right now, minorities are the demographic that's being hit the hardest. So my goal every year through each of my companies, one, through Michigan Youth STEM Tech Aeronautic Nonprofit, is to prepare students like you from K-12 up to age 26 for career opportunities in tech and STEM. And then through my other company, which is my major company, PICF, is then to hire you or to get you hiring opportunities by getting you work experience. And then my other company is Five S to Love. It's a compatibility app, it's a dating app, it's a catfish app, it's a podcast, it's a card game. But that's the thing that I do that's fun. But guess what? It's all tech related. And so the thing is that with all of those companies, I focus on hiring. That's all I focus on. And offering excellent quality customer service. Our products are top notch. I like when my clients say to me, "This is better than what I even expected." The thing is, and I want you guys to understand this, the slogan of my company is "well done." And the reason why that's the slogan of my company, because that's the thing my parents used to say to me when I brought home straight A's. They used to say, "well done. That was your job." So that's the slogan of my company, and I tell everybody, if you don't get a well done from me, then we haven't met that mark that I'm looking for. And it's not excellence, it's just the perfection within what it is that you need to do to provide to a customer to make sure that they say, well done. It's not what I think. You may like green and I may want to change your icon to purple. It's like that sometimes, but that's what's important.
What are some things you look for in an employee?
One of the things I look for in an employee, how to make it really simple, I like to have fun, but I also like to look at what's important bottom line. But I don't want anyone to come in and feel that we have this narrow perspective and you just gotta follow this straight line. In my office, it's like being a mini Google. Like, we have a lot of great times. But at the same time, if I pick up the phone and it's 2 a.m., anyone on my team is gonna answer. So when I worked at Detroit Public Schools Community District as the CIO, if my team came in at 7, I came in at 5. My rule is, I'm going to be what you need me to be every time I need to be there. And when a team understands that you have an open door policy and you're there working the same hours they're working, what do you think the team is going to do for you? They perform higher. When I ask them to go to IT certification classes, I go. Now, I may not finish the whole thing, but I start out with you because my thing is together we're better. And I'm no better than the weakest link on my team. So I look for somebody who understands teamwork, efficiency, and hard work, and like to have fun while you're doing it.
So, like, everything you're saying, it literally describes a leader. And I see you and view you as a leader. What are some characteristics it takes to be that leader that you are today?
So surprisingly enough, I wasn't always a leader. I didn't talk a lot when I was a kid. I read books in my closet with a flashlight. And I spoke and created my own language. So I want to say to you guys, a leader is your experience and you grow into being a leader. You're not born a leader. A lot of people say they're born a leader. No, sometimes you can be born with confidence. That's different. Leadership is having the ability to work with a group of people and more importantly, to be able to take them to the next level. My job is to grow every one of my team to be as good as I am, if not better. Succession, when you have a small startup, is so important. If anything happens to me, which I'm the head of the company should not non-exist. It should continue to grow. So one of the things that I say as a leader is that you have to continue to pour into your team, to be very supportive, to offer us training, and be empathetic. I'm very empathetic. My secretary says all the time, don't cry, because just tell her what you want. She's not going to cry with you. And I don't, because I think that it takes strength as a woman. You can't allow yourself as a leader, and I think that's the difference. And being a leader as a female, you can't allow yourself to be emotional. And I want to be clear, you can't allow yourself to be emotional in front of your staff, in front of your clients. When you close the door, you get 30 seconds. I want to be clear, ladies, it's not like it is in a man's world. You have to speak calmly, directly, and bulleted. And being a leader as a woman is a little bit different than being a leader as a man. And when you get home, I can't be a leader. I have to be mommy. I have to be wife. I have to be friend. So that leadership, this jacket comes off. And then it's like, what are we having for dinner? I just want to be clear. You have to stop that leadership. So it takes a lot. You need to know what type of leader you need to be. But more importantly, be a leader that your team can respect and admire. Okay?
This was so great. Thank you, guys. This was Miss Christine Burkette. I'm going to pass the phone to the microphone to my sister. Thank you, Miss Burkette. Honestly, you should be a motivational speaker, Miss Burkette. That was amazing. I learned so much. Thank you for that. And now I am blessed with the opportunity to interview Dr. Jennifer Blum.
Hi everyone, so nice to meet you. I especially appreciate those who are joining us virtually. Shout out to Tampa, Atlanta, and Huntsville. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm Dr. Jen Blum. I got my doctorate in astrophysics, so I became an astrophysicist, and then I got recruited by the CIA to be a data scientist, and I was like, what's a data scientist? And they're like, you are. And I was like, okay. And so they put me in cybersecurity, which is kind of strange, because I'm like, I know space and planets, but okay. So I tried to master that to the best of my ability, and I've kind of stayed there ever since. I left and became now in industry. Now I work at Jacobs, which is a huge company that I love, It focuses, for at least for me, on cybersecurity, help us to create new solutions. So basically, people come to us with problems that they want solved. And I love solving things. I love solving puzzles. I love coming up with creative ideas to solve those things. And so, yeah, I've been at Jacobs for about a year, and we're worldwide, which is another pro because I live in Germany now. So flew in last night. So it's a wonderful virtual world that we live in now. And so, yeah, and here I am.
Wonderful. So you mentioned you were an astrologist, right? Astrology, okay. And then you transitioned to a data scientist. How was the transition for you? Was it hard or was it easy?
So that's a great question. So first off, I was in school for a long time. So high school to college, and then the doctorate took another 5 years. So I was 27 and I had stayed in school that entire time. So then it was like, I don't know if I want to stay here. I don't know if I want to, do I want to work in a planetarium? Do I want to become a professor? And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think so. So I was like, what can I do? And the answer is anything. So I could do math, I could do science, I could do whatever was needed. So I just threw my resume out into the ether. And this is one thing I will say where my network really came in handy, where I sent it out and someone's like, where'd you go to school? And so I went to Columbia for undergrad, and they're like, I went to Columbia for undergrad. And they're like, I need to help you. And I was like, thank you. So they pretty much had a personal inside, and that's really critical when it comes to job searches. They have a personal inside who's advocating for you. So they this place was a think tank, and all that means is that you're essentially paid to think. And it's great. I did this for the Department of Defense, so they sent me on aircraft carriers, and I got to analyze different kinds of weapon systems. They sent me to some not so great garden spots, but it was different, it was interesting, and that kind of set me off on away from the degree I started in, but I still use those core STEM skills.
So are you thankful that it happened that way? Are you thankful for the journey? Because I feel like sometimes people might look at it as a setback. Would you look at it as a setback, or are you glad you went that route?
I'm really glad I went that route. There's a lot more money in what I do now, and so I have to be honest with myself is I like luxury. And so the life I have now allows me to do that. So yes, it was a great choice.
That's great. If you don't mind me asking, what is the average salary for what you do now?
So the average salary can range anywhere from $120,000 all the way up to $300,000. That's a huge range, so it's a very lucrative field and one that I highly recommend getting in. So that includes data science, data engineers, anything in cybersecurity and IT. And what the progress I've been able to make in just a few years has been phenomenal in terms of getting my salary increased. So, and I do know people who actually probably make more than $300K. They'll never tell me this, but I suspect it's true.
Does being a data scientist involve being on the team?
Yes, so when I first started, I was on a small team of about 5 people, and then I started becoming the leader of those teams. So at Jacobs, I had a team of about 20 people. Now it's kind of shrunk a little bit because people went off to do new opportunities, so it's about like 5 to 10 people. And I love collaborating, I love bouncing ideas off of people, and I also don't want to surround myself by what I call yes people, so people who always agree with you. It's really key to have people who can share different perspectives so that you can think of new ways to get to the answer to certain problems.
What does being a leader of your team look like? How do you lead your team? Do you have any certain tactics you use, or how do you personalize being a leader? And what kind of leader would you describe yourself as?
I hope I would say involved, only because I've had bad leaders, and so I was I'm not going to be like them, so I try to be heavily involved, not micromanage, so I trust them to do what they need to do, but I also want them to know that I care, so I meet with them one-on-one often and ask what are their desires and what are their goals, and teach them how they can get to where they need to go.
As a team, how do you guys face adversities? How do you lead your team into facing some troubles, and how do you guys get past them?
So I'll say one of the original problems I had before I came into Jacobs was I had a team that was all women. That was kind of by accident, but also by design. Like minds, we kind of attract each other. And some of the problems that we had were getting unwanted attention in a professional setting. Like I said, my first job, I was being put on aircraft carriers, I was being sent out to military bases, out into the desert, meeting different industries, different companies. And I would say that some people don't take you seriously because of how you look, because of how you dress. And so we had to think of techniques to, deal with that. Whether it's being firm or whether it's being, like Christine said, and kind of having a little bit of fun with them. But we always did it as a unit so that we felt safe and supported.
There's lots of beautiful girls in this room right now. So what advice would you give to them to serve whoever is trying to not see them in a stern way or serious or take them seriously? What advice would you give them to be taken seriously?
So one thing I would definitely say is know the person who, basically know your target. So you have to understand the person who isn't taking you seriously. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage. If you think like, oh, they assume I'm not going to do this, maybe depending on how you feel, I can make it seem like it was their idea. If you want to get credit for it, I highly recommend going around them. So either if they're your boss, go to your boss's boss. If you're not comfortable doing that, I highly recommend going to other colleagues or someone you trust. And you can find ways around it so that you have that support before you go in for the attack, so to speak, to be taken seriously. Some people are very hard-headed and you're never going to change their minds. It's very important to know which people those are so that you don't waste your time. If there are people whose minds cannot be changed and you're like, this is not going to happen, then you either need to move in a different direction or let it go and see what happens. Or what I do recommend is that finding a strategy to move around it. Don't just accept it and take it.
So you mentioned you live in Germany right now, right? How is the work environment in Germany? Is it different from America?
So I kind of have a weird way of how I got to Germany. So I lived in DC for a few years. Met my now husband, who was in Army, and he's Army civilian, but what that means is you still get sent to different bases. And so he said, I'm being sent to Wiesbaden. He's like, what's Wiesbaden? And he's like, that's a city. I was like, where? And he's like, Germany. I was like, I guess I'm going to Germany. So I moved with him there, and that's why it was so important to be part of a global team. So that was part of my personal strategy. I said, how do I get the salary I want in the interests I'm pursuing, but also get to follow my husband and get to be in the same geographic location? So when I finally did get to be in Germany, it was 100%, I'm still 100% remote, and I actually still support, my team is mainly in the US. So I kind of work US hours, so Germany's about 6 hours ahead, so 2 p.m. for me is 8 a.m. here. And so what's great by that is my mornings are mine. So you get up, you run the treadmill, you get your nails done, get your hair done. It's gotten a little bit more difficult now that I'm starting to make other European connections and colleagues. So now I've got my friends in Italy, and I was like, well, maybe I can still squeeze nails in, but I'm gonna have to figure that out. But so I'm still supporting like a US company, but I do have still working with the German economy and industry. So it's a really cool blend.
What do you find exciting about being a data scientist?
Like I said, I love solving problems. So that's anything that allows me to do that. So that's why I wanted to go into astrophysics when I was growing up. I was like, space, what is it? Like, why? Why are we here? All those big questions. And now the questions are kind of still the same, just fine-tuned a little bit. With data science, I'm like, people come to me with a problem, and I'm like, well, what information do you have to give me that I can help you solve this? So one thing I love is that I kind of think I can learn anything. And so with data scientists, that's all it means. You give me data, you give me information in any subject. And so I need to kind of become an expert in those subjects so I'm never bored. And that's what I love the most about being a data scientist, is boredom is the enemy. So as long as my mind is stimulated, I'm happy.
You said you love solving problems. That was very, very interesting for me to hear, because sometimes when we're faced with a problem, we just are stuck. We don't know what to do. So what characteristic of yours would you say helps you solve the problems efficiently and helps you be motivated to solve the problem too?
So I will say, at first I digest the issue, and then I try to learn it as much as I can, and I also have to realize when I'm stuck. So one of my favorite quotes is actually from one of my mentors, was when I asked her, can you do it all? Whatever that meant to her at the time. And she said, you can do it all, just not all at once, and not by yourself. And so I always try to take that to heart is I can't do everything by myself. And that was something I really had struggled with when I was growing up because I was like, I can do it. You know, like even if you tried to like help me with say something like my bags, I was like, no, I got it. I can do it. I'm an independent woman. I've got this. But it doesn't mean that, I can still accept help. That's fine. So I would say I have to understand when I need my team to help support me because they'll think of something new, something interesting, perspective I hadn't considered, and that helps us all to solve the problem. And you have to realize that it's not you who's winning. Like when your team wins, you win. So it's not just about me. It's about making sure that there's enough success for everybody.
Being on a team, I'm on a basketball team, so that sounds, I understand the importance of a team and how you need to get things done and be in the same unit. I'm going to ask you one final question, and that question is, what advice would you give to the students in these rooms to take with them?
So I would say, whatever your passion is, pursue it, but also you need to be strategic with it. So if you're into art, like Christine said, that some of us are, if you're musically inclined, but you're like, man, STEM seems to be where the high salary is. How do I do that? You can find a way to make it apply to STEM. So for me, anything can go to STEM. I had art students come up to me and be like, man, like there's nothing. And I was like, when Christine was talking about graphic design, I was saying when I was at the CIA, say, for example, need designers. If you need someone to design a passport, you need someone who knows design in order to do that. That counts as STEM. That counts as almost like financial art. And so, yeah, I would say please pursue your passions, but also, you need to have a little bit of realism. Be strategic, and you can definitely be successful in whatever you want to achieve. And figure out what it is that you want. Do you want, do you want a really high salary? Do you want to be working all the time? Or do you want to have a really nice balance to just pursue your hobbies and just live a comfortable life? All of that.
Thank you so much for this interview, Dr. Jennifer Blum. You taught me so much about being on a team, being a leader, and how to just make sure you're an independent woman. I get that vibe a lot from you. So thank you so much. This was amazing. This was great. I am now going to open the floor to any questions you have for either of the women that we interviewed today. Does anyone have any questions? Don't be shy. Gotcha.
How is Germany money wise and stuff like that while you running your business and stuff like that?
I can project. It's fine. Okay. So I think the question. Thank you. The question was what's the salary like?
Salary and how you're living.
Economy. How the economy is like in Germany. So one of the great things is I intentionally chose a U.S. company that was in Germany. So I still get a U.S. salary in Germany. So overall, in Germany, the salaries are a bit lower. However, you get other great benefits like healthcare and stuff like that, and you have to figure out the balance with that. For me, a higher salary is more important. So I stuck with a U.S. company, but if you wanted to just, to go with a German company, you have to take a little bit of a pay cut. But you also have to realize what's more important to you. Do you want to be like, I can go to the doctor whenever I want. I don't have to worry about any bills or anything like that.
Any other questions? Okay, so this is the question for the both of you guys. How does it feel to live with royalty actually, so fanciness?
Luxury.
Yeah.
Luxury.
You can go.
about living a life of luxury. It's awesome. The question is, what is it like, or how is it like? It's great, but it didn't happen all at once. But I found myself to be very fortunate, and I have to remember, of course, where I came from, and also that to return, like to give back. A lot of people sacrifice so that I can be here, and so I want to give back as a way of showing my gratitude for what I've done. But yeah, so we get to the fun stuff. So it's great. My husband and I, we live in a penthouse suite, so top floor in Germany. Even though we got married last year, because of COVID, we had to have our ceremony only more recently. So we had it in Bora Bora. We paid for it. For those who don't know, that's in French Polynesia. So that's like middle of nowhere from New Zealand. But it's beautiful, and we're able to pay for it all ourselves and our family to come and stay there. And so some family members didn't come, and I think they're kicking themselves for that. But it's kind of surreal, and I still have a long way to go. Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm not eating caviar every day, not by a long shot. The thing is to what's important to you and how often can I do it. So I wanted the salary I'm making so that I can take luxury trips like when I can. So upcoming fun stuff. I'm running a half marathon in December. My husband's running a full marathon but it's in Lanzarote, Spain, so that's the Canary Islands in Spain. We can just go to Spain. And then in April, I was like, I want to go to Switzerland. I'm going to Switzerland. And so you'll notice that those December and April are kind of a bit spread out because I'm not at that level yet where I can just, not work or just, still got to go to work, still got to make that money. But I do it so that I can have those experiences and, also do other things like I'm fortunate that I can also take care of my parents. So that's my way of giving back. They supported me throughout my entire education, and I'm happy to support them in that role.
I work to send my kid to college, okay? No, I want to say that I do work to send my kid to college. I do like that financially I'm in a good space, but I also remember, like she said, it took a lot of people. I was the first to go to college in my family, and my great-grandmother, who was the last slave on a plantation as a child, used to send me $5 to college at Delaware State, and I have all those $5. So I look at those $5, and every year I give away $5,000 or more, just to people in general. I bought one school a classroom full of laptops because the kids didn't have money. So I give back a lot to the community in general. But it is good, like she said, you can just get your nail and hair done whenever you want. But there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it too. I don't want you guys thinking that more money comes more problems.
Any other questions?
We have some in the back, so I'm gonna spread it out.
So how was it like when, cause you said you worked in a team, in a unit, how was it like not being overpowered by the team, making sure you still got all the credit for the work you done?
That is a good question. So I'll answer very quickly. I think in what I do in my company is predominantly male. Even the staff that works for me is 98%. I'm the only female in around the company. One of the things that I really focus on is that I create a team environment. So there is no one person who feels like they can dominate. And to your point, it does. I mean, we got some stars though that like to pop collar. And you give people space to do that. And I always tell them, because I'm the boss doesn't mean I'm the smartest person in the room. It just means I was smart enough to hire all of you, right? And so that's what I look at.
She said agree.
This is a question for the both of you. What is the hardest part of getting to where you are now?
Go ahead, you answer that.
I think one of the hardest parts is patience and drive, because I talked about running a marathon, that's the way it is metaphorically. It took a long time to get where I am, and I still have a lot further to go. You can burn out real fast, so it's always important to do self-care and be patient, because you're going to fail. And I failed a lot of times, but the key is that I kept getting back up after all of those.
And I just want to add, for me, I've worked in corporate and education and running my own company at the same time. And to her point, I'm 51 and I still haven't met my targeted goal of where I want to be and where I want my companies to be. So trust me when I say this to you, ladies, I used to sit in your seats at your age and never did I think I would be in this seat at my age. I thought it would happen in my 30s. Okay? I didn't think it would happen in 51, as my son says. Mom, put the one there, don't forget. And that's the thing, so be patient, be open to people's feedback. You're gonna hit a lot of speed bumps along the way. And things that you think that are diverting you in the opposite direction is actually putting you right where you need to be. So just remember that. And by the way, your glasses are so hot, okay? Awesome.
Hope has a chat question.
We have a question for you.
Oh, that's a good one.
Dr. Jennifer, actually both of you guys. Any tips to overcome imposter syndrome?
I'll let you know, because I still have it. But some of the tips I found is you have to learn in order to learn to be confident, you have to, I'd say, get in your space where like, I like this, like I'm good at this, and I can do it. You need to kind of almost become an actor or actress and project the kind of person that you want to be. People don't know what's going on the inside. You can be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But as long as you don't see that, all of a sudden you're like, oh, they think I can do this. And you just keep going with it, and then you start gaining confidence. So it's a wonderful positive feedback.
Okay, I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. I have two personalities. Christine is the person you see now, and she goes, bring the beat in, right? She's totally hilarious and I love her, but I had to separate because Chris is the person at home who takes care of her family. Christine is the one that goes out and makes that money. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna tell you, when you're like us in our seats, you gotta be a different person, but you gotta protect the core of who you are. I'm still that little girl who likes to read books, and I have bookshelves full of books, right?
And then one more quick thing, you also have to develop a thick skin. Don't take things personally. People are gonna be mean, you don't know what's going on with them. It's nothing personal. I literally talked to someone, and he had a box of pills on his desk, and it said stupid pills. And so when I was giving him a presentation, he took one out and gave one to me. And I was like, okay, that hurts. I said in my mind, you're a jerk. And we're gonna work through this.
So I have a question, is there any way that you think, ELA could be incorporated into STEM?
Tech readers, we were just talking about that. English language arts. We were just talking about that.
Okay, so we were just talking about that. ELA, be honest with you, most of us who are really smart right in this space, I have a whole team that checks my grammar. I'm gonna be honest with you. They check my grammar and everything. So to be honest, a lot of people who are really good in English, we love you because we can turn you into tech writers. Because it's the grammar part, articulation is very well, in spoken and written. It's not spoken, it's the written. And I say that because when I worked for General Motors, I used to write manuals for them. I used to have a person behind me after I created the manuals to check my manual work on my tech writing. I was the lady who created all the documents. When you were downloading your apps in your vehicles, you were reading what I wrote. So if I wrote something incorrectly, obviously it wasn't gonna work very well, right? So that's what I mean. So yeah, it's room for you guys, 100%.
I'll add for the language component. Like I said, I live in Germany now. In terms of getting jobs, knowing more than one language, especially in STEM, will take you very, very far. So I just want to say, any language that sings to you, even if it's very, in a very niche community, go for it.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Can you say something in German for us real quick?
Guten Morgen. Ich bin Jennifer Blum. Let's see, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber lerne Yeah, each learn now. Yeah, just
Okay. I don't know what that means, but it sounded great.
Okay, my question is, what about your background? Where did I heard you said that you are from Detroit, but what about you?
What about, me? Oh, me. Oh, you. Me? Oh, me.
oh,
Oh,
you said where you were from.
yeah.
So I'm from the Bronx, New York. I lived there until I was about 17, so I can still claim it. I can. People were like, Jenny moved down to the suburbs. I was like, I was 17. It counts. It counts. But yeah, so I grew up. My neighborhood was relatively safe. My parents were very encouraging of what I wanted to do. When I said I wanted to go into astronomy, they didn't say, "What are you going to do with that?" They just said, "Okay," and they just encouraged me to do it. So I would say my background is I came from wonderful set of wonderful parents, regardless of where I was.
So I grew up in Detroit on Schoolcraft in Rosedale Park, in the hood, as y'all say, in the hood. And my parents were wonderful. My dad we had a 2-car garage, and they knew I was a little bit different, so he took half of the garage and turned it into a science lab and told my mother her car had to go in the driveway. I didn't do anything as relates to normal girl stuff like cooking. I was always in the backyard taking worms apart, just stuff. Looking at the lens, getting leaves when it rained on it. I wanted to find out what was in a raindrop. So I was a little bit different always. But yeah, Schoolcraft and Longacres where I grew up.
Oh, you did? On the craft? Oh,
Okay, so this is a question for you. You said you have a kid and your income is pretty good. Do you spoil your children?
oh my, that's a good question. And let me answer that. Because that is so important.
The answer to that is no. My son he understands the dollar means everything to him. And because of the way he grew up and the way I grew up, you had to earn. So your grades got you money. Your room got you money if it was clean. If your bathroom was clean, you got money. But if you didn't do any of those things, you got no money. He's currently not on an allowance because my son doesn't believe taking money from him. He said once he got to college and he was what he calls an adult, which by the way, he needed me to rent a car from him last week because his car was in the shop. He's 20. He's still not an adult, but the thing is, no. He went to private school, but he didn't have a lavish life. We live very modestly. And again, I live on 30% of my income and sometimes 40%. Because to her point, what we do, it takes a lot of energy and time. So that self-time is when I can tell my girls, let's go to Vegas, and I pay for it. Like, let's get on a charter plane and let's do it. But that's not all the time, let's keep it real. That's once every couple of years I'm chartering a plane and be like, let's do it. But it does allow you to do stuff like that. So no, he doesn't, honey, he used to get his Nikes from the Nike outlets. Okay, y'all know where it's at here in Michigan, don't play.
No. Okay, this is my last question for you guys, both of guys. Have you ever stuttered in front of like a very, very important business meeting?
Oh, you mean like hesitated?
Yeah.
Oh.
I speak all over the country. Sometimes my tongue gets tired, and yes, it happens. But that's okay because you can always do a comeback. Like just take a breath and just say, "Give me a second." Yeah, it's nervousness.
Yeah.
Like with this stutter question, I like tend to stutter a lot too sometimes, and sometimes people will be like, "Oh, like you stutter," they try to pick on me, but I think it just makes me stronger because it takes courage to get up there and speak what you want to say, and I think it makes you even stronger pushing through that. So yeah.
That was my statement.
There you go. I think the ladies over in this corner have had their hand up.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I have a question. Does music have anything to do with STEM? Like
We like the questions. I'm going to answer very quickly, and I'm going to give
Over to Dr. Blum. I play 6 different instruments. I went to Northwestern High School, traveled all over the country, literally, France, Italy, Rome, everywhere, in the jazz band with Mr. Ernie Rogers. And to this day, I still play those instruments. And a lot of my friends are famous musicians who also play with me in the same band.
An example of what it does in STEM is I knew someone who he played the piano and then he went into music therapy. So it was a physical therapy, mental therapy, but through playing music. So that's an example.
Okay, everyone. Here's Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford. He'll be here to speak to y'all.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Let me get out of the way here. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone for being here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you fired up?
Yes.
All right. So listen, this event, and I've been so honored to be the National Chair for K-12 mentoring, and it means so much to so many people. And what this is really about is you're hearing from ordinary people who have done some extraordinary things to literally change the world. And so the question for you ought to be, why not me? You know, why can't I be sitting in this chair, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, sharing my story and sharing your story and sharing your journey? Ultimately, what you want to be is a guiding light for others that are coming behind you to say, yes, this can be done. And yes, you can be successful. And I've said to people many times, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have had 34 years of serving the country in the Army. And I wouldn't have had the honor and privilege of working for a global engineering firm called Jacobs Engineering and being a senior president if somebody didn't invest in me when others told me that I couldn't. That this is not for you, this is for others. And so, like many of you, it doesn't matter, what I found out, it doesn't matter where you started, it's where you end, all right? So when someone said that you're on welfare, so this isn't for you. When someone said you grew up in a single parent household, so this is not for you. When someone said, because you're not the #1 class student in the class, 600, this is not for you. And college is not for you. And dreams are not for you. It was a mentor in the STEM field who reached out to me and says, yes, you can, all right? That you have as much talent as anybody else. And so what this is all about is outreach and belief in you. And all you've got to do is grasp the opportunity and commit yourselves to being the best you that you can possibly be. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity just to say a few words. First of all, thank our panelists for sharing their stories. And for being an inspiration. You give the greatest gift that you can give. And I want everybody here, all right? The only thing I ask of you is to take that gift that you're giving, the gift of a good example, and go back and share that with people you know. Because again, I think opportunity is for everybody. And what you do with that opportunity is up to you. So if you'll remember anything else that this old retired Army general said to you, all right, believe in yourselves, all right? Because not only does Michigan need you, and not only does this great nation need you, the world needs you to maintain our competitive advantage. And so remember that, all right? This literally could be you. And so I'm one of these people, it's the last thing I'll say and I'll get off stage here. Look, I'm a believer, and I believe in you. Your intellectual curiosity, your passion, your drive is exactly what we need with the next greatest generation of leaders, which is all of you. So thank you all so much for the gift of your time today.
Thank you so much for attending yet another Career Day. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check out the STEM City USA. Okay.